Well, welcome to Real Relief for Sleep. I'm so glad that you've taken this opportunity to put your health first and take some time for yourself and your well-being. And if you haven't met me before, my name's Dr Janelle Sinclair. I live in New Zealand with my husband and my two children, and I've been working in the functional medicine industry for over 15 years. And I know that when you're unwell and you're looking for health answers and solutions, it's really important that you can trust the person that you're learning from. And I just want to say that I do have the qualifications and the experience to help you. I've got a PhD in biochemistry from Basel, Switzerland. I've got a postgrad certificate in mental health. And as I said, I've been working in the functional medicine industry for over 15 years. And I specialize in the area of mental health and consult with private clients. And many of them have poor sleep, because when you have depression and anxiety, poor sleep is often it often goes along with them. So you can trust me, and the information that you're going to learn through the coming modules is based on not only science but also my clinical experience. But enough about me. This course is all about you. And I just want to let you know that this course has 7 different modules, and we're currently in module number 1, which is the introduction module. And it's got 5 different sections, and we're going to start with talking about the problem with sleep. So did you know that 10 to 15% of the general population have ongoing insomnia? And the definition for chronic insomnia is an inability to sleep sufficiently despite creating adequate opportunity. And it occurs at least 3 nights per week for more than 3 months, with negative consequences during the day, which can include fatigue or mood disorders or poor concentration. Now, I know that many of you doing this course won't have insomnia or chronic insomnia, but you will be having issues with your sleep. Maybe you can't get to sleep. Maybe it just takes you hours and you're just, lying there looking at staring at the ceiling, getting frustrated. Or perhaps you go to sleep okay, but then you wake up in the middle of the night and you can't get back to sleep. Or maybe you just doze and it's just a really restless night's sleep and you wake up multiple times. Or perhaps you wake up a lot earlier than you want to and you just can't get back to sleep. And all of this is going to be impacting your life, isn't it? And you just feel really tired and feel really fatigued. Well, the thing is that sleep is so important for you. We spend approximately 1/3 of our life sleeping, and so it must be very important. And researchers don't completely understand why we sleep, but they do know that it is important, and it's likely to have the following benefits. Your brain sorts and processes the day's information. The sleep can also lead to your stress hormones lowering, and your sympathetic nervous system, your fight and flight response, can rest. Your immune system releases anti-inflammatory cytokines while you sleep as well. And your pituitary releases growth hormone, which promotes growth and repair. So sleep doesn't just have an impact on your emotions and your mood and your energy, but also on your immune system and your health and growth and repair in general. So it's really important that you have a good night's sleep. And unfortunately, with poor sleep, there are health consequences. And I'm sure you've experienced some of these before. You felt fatigued and your motivation has been impacted. Or maybe you can't concentrate. Or perhaps it's leading to a lower mood or anxiety, or it's exacerbating a pre-existing condition. Or perhaps it's leading to a lot of irritability and anger, and your tolerance with your kids or your family or your work colleagues has really gone down and you're really irritable. Well, Unfortunately, these are what we experience with poor sleep, but there's also long-term health consequences as well. It can lead to high blood pressure, weight gain, heart disease, as well as stroke. So it's really important that you get a good night's sleep. But I want to know what's the reason you're here. I know no one wants to feel fatigued. No one wants to have poor concentration and feel irritable. But what impact is it having on your life? And so what I want you to do right now is download our workbook. It's one of our bonuses, and I want you to write your answers in the workbook for me. So if you haven't already downloaded the workbook, pause this video, go download it, and then come back and answer this question. So why are you here? Why are you doing this course other than wanting to get a good night's sleep? Is it that you want to improve your mood and energy? Or is it that you want to have a good night's sleep so that you can be a better parent, enjoy being with your family again, have more energy for them? Or perhaps you want to get your concentration back and have a positive impact on your work and your studies. Or perhaps you just want to have better performance and better wellness, and you know that when you sleep better, you perform better at your sport, or you just want to prevent those long-term consequences of a bad night's sleep. So write your answer in the workbook, and maybe even just send me an email of why you're doing this course. We'd love to hear from you. So as I said, we've got some bonuses for you in the bonus section of the membership site. And so download that workbook, and in the back of the workbook is a resource guide as well. But we also have a supplement guide that tells you what supplements you can purchase and where to buy them, and most importantly, what dosages you need to help you and to keep safe, to have the right dosages, not to have too little of something or too much of something as well. Cool. So during this course, we're going to talk about the 8 root causes of poor sleep. Okay. What I've come to discover is there's not just one reason that people can have poor sleep. Okay, it's not just low melatonin. Okay, there's 8 different causes of poor sleep, and through the 7 different modules, we're going to be covering each one of these causes. Right, we're going to firstly talk about the bedroom environment as well as exposure to light and how these can impact your sleep. We're going to go on and talk about your eating habits and how you can nourish and fuel your body, which means that your neurotransmitters and your melatonin are all working better. So it means that you're calmer at night, okay? And you can get a deep, refreshing night's sleep. We'll go on and talk about medications and side effects, as well as nutritional deficiencies. The other root cause of poor sleep is stress and anxiety, as well as hormonal imbalances. All right, and then we finally will talk about the very overlooked food intolerances that can impact your sleep. So as I said, there's 7 different modules. We're starting with this introduction. We're going through the 8 root causes of poor sleep. And then in module number 7, we're going to put all the information that you learn together into an easy action plan so that you can easily help your sleep, improve your sleep, and not feel overwhelmed in the process. So when you listen to the modules, take in the information, but if you're kind of feeling a little overloaded, like there's too much information, just relax, listen to it, take in what you can, and then move to module number 7, in which we'll outline an easy approach to change your sleep. Cool. Well, now we're going to move on to section number 2, and we're going to talk about understanding the biology of sleep. Now, the reason I want you to spend a little bit of time here understanding how we sleep and why we sleep is so that Well, my belief is that when we understand how things work, we can understand why we want to stop doing particular things that will have a negative effect on our sleep, and it'll also help encourage us to do the right things. So it doesn't end up just to be a list of do's and don'ts, but you understand, if I do this, it's going to impact my brain and my sleep this way. And you're like, oh, I do not want to do that. So let's move on and talk about the biology of sleep. Cool. Well, the first thing I want you to understand with sleep is that we have circadian rhythms in our body. And basically, these are internally driven cycles that rise and fall during a 24-hour day. It's really an internal body clock. Okay, and this internal body clock sets our daily timing for processes such as hormonal secretion, changes in body temperature and heart rate rhythm, for eating and digesting, as well as our sleep-wake cycles. And to get a good night's sleep, we need to support our circadian rhythms, not work against them. Okay. And for many of you, you might not like what I'm about to say, but we need routine and consistency in our lives. Maybe you're a bit more of a spontaneous person. Well, I just want to encourage you that when it comes to sleep, we want to be consistent, especially when you are having issues with sleep and you can't get to sleep and you can't stay asleep. So we want to be consistent when it comes to when we go to bed and when we wake up every morning. And yeah, so I just want to encourage you in that. And the thing with our daily rhythms, our circadian rhythms, is that light is key to this. It tells our body whether it's night or day. Okay, and you see, light is detected through your eyes. And even when your eyelids are closed, and that might be a bit surprising, but even when your eyelids are closed, light goes through the eyes and is picked up by the pineal gland. Now, the pineal gland is a part of the brain that secretes melatonin, okay? And melatonin is our sleep hormone, and it promotes sleep and regulates our circadian rhythm, okay? So that's how our body gets signals from the outside, how our body learns if it's day or night, and how it really integrates that daily cycle into our circadian rhythms. Okay. And what I want you to realize is that in the past, humans went to bed with the sun and got up with the sun. Okay, and it's kind of obvious when we go camping, right? When you go camping in a tent and it gets really dark and we don't have much lighting, so we often go to bed earlier, right? And then in the morning time, the sun comes up, and you know how long you can sleep in a tent when the sun comes up. Not very long, because it gets very bright and it gets very hot, okay? Well, that's what it used to be like hundreds of years ago when we didn't have electricity. And so humans would go to bed with the sun and they would get up with the sun. And so that's how our circadian rhythm, our daily cycles should actually work. But when the light bulb and when electricity was invented, we really screwed up with our circadian rhythms, okay? The electric light bulb was only invented in 1879, and we only got electricity for lighting in our homes around 1920. So this is only 100 years ago. So keep in mind that, you know, we have a lot of technology that's going on that our bodies didn't evolve with, our bodies haven't been used to. And so these are having an effect on our well-being and on our sleep and our mental well-being as well. So we really need to compensate for our technology. You know, technology is great, electricity is great, but we need to compensate and make sure that it's not having a negative impact on our bodies. Okay, so remember that darkness stimulates melatonin production. Okay, and exposure at night to light stops melatonin production. and therefore it deregulates our sleep cycle. So one of the things we're going to be talking about in the next module is light and how that impacts our sleep. So realize that light and melatonin are not the only mechanisms that regulate the sleep-wake cycle, wake system. So yeah, the first thing I want you to know is that we have these circadian rhythms and they're impacted by light. But there's a second thing that I want you to know about the biology of sleep, okay? And that is the sleep-wake cycles is regulated by two major processes, okay? And that's the sleep-inducing system and the hyper-arousal inducing system. All right, so a lot of people think about sleep as just from the fact of when I go to sleep, I want to be calm, and melatonin is going to help me because you know, sleep medication is going to help calm me down. All right. And so that's the sleep-inducing system, and that's what we want to dominate at nighttime, to feel relaxed and feel calm, right? But we've got this hyper-arousal inducing system, and we want this to dominate during the day, okay? And so when I talk about arousal, it's not sexual arousal, it's about alertness, it's about energy, it's about motivation, having energy and concentration during the day. But the thing is, these are both in balance, and sometimes they get out of balance, okay? And yeah, let me just talk about that again, sorry. When we want these two systems to be in balance, we want the sleep-inducing system to be strong at night, and we want the hyperarousal system to be dominating during the day, and we don't want it dominating during the night. And what a lot of people don't realize when it comes to their sleep is that this hyperarousal system can have a real impact on us during the night, okay? What you can see here is there's different biochemical molecules that can impact the sleep and wake system. And we're going to come across these in different modules, in different modules, all right? And so over with the sleep-inducing system, we've got melatonin, which we've just learned about. Okay, that's your hormone of sleep. Now, serotonin is a calming neurotransmitter. Okay, many of you would have heard about it when it comes to depression. But there's other neurotransmitters, such as GABA and adenosine, and these both are inhibitory neurotransmitters. They're calming, okay? And we want to have lots of these at nighttime, and we want them to help calm our body down, all right? When it comes to the hyperarousal inducing system, a lot of people don't realize that there's these neurotransmitters that are stimulatory for us. Okay, we've got orexin, got adrenaline and noradrenaline and cortisol, and these three are our fight and flight response hormones. Okay, and we want them to be high during the day. We want to be alert and we want to have energy, but we don't want them to be high at night when we want to feel calm. But a lot of people do have adrenaline and cortisol high and elevated at night, and we're going to be talking about that in module number 5. The other neurotransmitters that people don't talk about much when it comes to sleep is histamine and glutamate, and these again are very stimulatory to the body. And we're going to talk about how your diet can impact those neurotransmitters and how we want to not have an overload of those in our body, or else it leads to poor sleep at night. Okay. So really the sleep-wake system must be in balance. And so a lot of people recognize that they have poor sleep or anxiety because of an underactivity of the sleep-inducing system, so not enough melatonin. But what isn't recognized enough is that an overactivity of the arousal systems can also cause poor sleep. It means that you don't go to sleep, and it means that you can often wake up during the night as well. And for some people, it's actually a combination of these two, that they're not making enough melatonin, but they're also making too much of their stress hormones or histamines out of balance, okay? And we have to work on both sides of the equation, calming your body down, by improving those melatonin, but also getting rid of all those sleep, stress, and stimulatory neurotransmitters as well. So when it comes to the biology of sleep, the third thing that we want to talk about here is sleep cycles, okay? Each night, it's not like we go to sleep and just stay asleep and nothing else happens sort of in the brain or your sleep, you know, from when we go to sleep and when we wake up. Actually, we go through these cycles as we sleep. And there's two different types of sleep, non-REM sleep and then REM sleep. And the first part of a cycle is non-REM sleep, and this is about 75 to 80% of our sleep. And this has 3 to 4 stages that are recognized. In stage 1, there's a transition between being awake and going to sleep. In stage 2, we have light sleep, and this is where your heart rate drops, your breathing and your body temperature drops too. And then in stage 3 and 4 is recognize that this is where we have deep sleep, and this is where we feel most refreshed. Okay. The second part of the cycle is REM sleep, and we sleep, have more REM sleep earlier in the morning. Okay. We have more deeper sleep in the first couple of hours of sleep, and then more REM sleep in the final hours of sleeping. And they think that REM sleep is good for learning and making or retaining memories. So this is just a visual of the sleep cycles, okay? We start with being awake, and then we transitioned into the non-REM sleeps parts of the cycle. Okay, we go from N1, N2, down to N3 or 4. And then we pop up into REM sleep, which is represented here by the black dark rectangles. Okay, so there's a little bit of REM sleep earlier in the night, and then we go down through another cycle. So REM sleep 1, non-REM sleep 1, 2, and 3, and then we pop up into REM sleep again, and then we go through another cycle and up into REM sleep again, and then in the later hours of our sleep, early hours of the morning, we don't go into the deep sleep, but we spend a lot more time in REM sleep. All right. And it's within REM sleep that is REM sleep is a light form of sleep, and this is where we can actually wake up through the night, and it's more likely that we pop out of these REM sleep. And often when we pop out of the REM sleep, it can be because of the hyperarousal system, that we've got too much stimulation going on, and we can't drop back down into those deeper parts of the sleep cycle again. So when it comes to the sleep cycles, what you need to know is that they are on average 90 minutes in length, okay? And we cycle through these stages of sleep between 4 to 6 times per night, okay? So this equates to 6 to 9 hours of sleep. And you're probably asking, why do we need to learn about sleep, and why is it relevant to you? Well, we're going to answer this in the next section, in which we're going to cover how much sleep do you need. All right, so let's go on and answer that question. Okay, so before we answer the question, let's let me tell you what is a normal amount of sleep. Okay, well, it should take you only 10 to 20 minutes to fall asleep. You should be spending 7 to 9 hours on average asleep, but keep in mind that we're all different, and for some people 6 hours of sleep can be optimal for them. All right, probably no less than 6 hours of sleep, but for some 6 hours is enough. Okay, your waking time should be one that suits your body and routine. Okay, for some people they like to wake up at 5 in the morning, and that's awesome. For others, they they panic when they see the clock is saying 5 a.m. because it's much too early for them. Okay, so what time you want to wake up in the morning is one that suits your body, because maybe you're a morning person, or maybe you're someone that likes to sleep in a little bit and doesn't have to get to work so early. Okay, but when it comes to sleep, what is normal is that you should wake up feeling refreshed. Okay, you should wake up feeling refreshed, not groggy. Your eyes should open, and it should be easy for you to get out of bed. Okay. So how much sleep do you need? Well, what I want to encourage you is to stop thinking about sleep in hours, okay? But start thinking about sleep in terms of cycles, okay? And what we want to do is aim for 4 to 6 cycles per night. So this can equate to 6 hours to 9 hours a night, okay? Now what we want to do is aim for consistent bedtime and, more importantly, a consistent wake time. Okay? This helps support your circadian rhythm and helps you get deep sleep and wake up refreshed. Okay. Most people should be aiming to have 5 cycles of sleep per night. Okay, and this will equate to around 7.5 hours of sleep. If you're a night owl or over the age of 55, or you struggle to get to sleep, maybe consider 4 cycles only, which is 6 hours. So what I want to do in this section of Module 1 is make a plan for you. And we're going to plan your bedtime and your waking time. Remember when we learned about the circadian rhythms? Okay. Consistency is your friend, especially when you're struggling to get to sleep and stay asleep. All right. For people that go to sleep easily, they probably don't have to be as vigilant as you do. All right. But especially at the beginning, when we're trying to get your sleep back, we want to be consistent and support your circadian rhythm. So we teach your body it's time to go to sleep. And we teach your body it's time to wake up and feel refreshed. Okay, so this first step is we decide how many sleep cycles you will aim for initially. Okay. For most people, as I said, it should be 5 cycles. So this will equate to 7.5 hours. Okay. If you're a night owl or you're older in age, so over the age of 55, you might just want to plan for 4 cycles. What I would suggest that you do is sit down and really calculate how much sleep you're getting every night. Okay, it's kind of easy if you go to sleep and stay asleep and then wake up, and yeah, that's easy to calculate. But if you're taking a while to go to sleep and then you might wake up in the middle of the night and then you might stay awake for an hour or 2, really just calculate not the amount of time that you're staying in bed, but the amount of time that you're actually asleep, right? If it's, so hopefully you are getting 6 hours of sleep, but if you're not, and you know you're only getting 4 or 5 hours, what I'd suggest is you aim for 3 cycles only. But keep this in mind that it's only temporary. Okay, we don't really want that to be an ongoing thing, but what we want to do is get you sleeping consistently for those 4.5 hours, and then we can add another cycle on the top. Okay, and then you can move to 4 cycles of sleep per night. So step number 2 is to decide on an ideal constant wake time. All right. And it's really the constant wake time that is the most important, all right? It's the time that you're going to wake up every day, right? So what time would you be comfortable waking up every day, okay? This should be something that you can consistently do. Will it give you enough time to get ready in the morning for work? And can you do this on both weekdays and weekends? And does this take into consideration any reasonably frequent early meetings? Okay, so Monday morning you might have a 8 o'clock meeting, but every other day of the week you start at 9. Well, what you need to do is have a constant wake up time. That means that you can wake up and have enough time to get to that early morning meeting on Monday. All right. So step number 3 is calculate your allocated bedtime. Okay, so count backwards in 90-minute cycles and then add 15 to 30 minutes for falling asleep, depending on how fast you're falling asleep right now. And then finally, you just need to trial it and be consistent and adjust if necessary. Okay, so the aim here is for you to be tired at bedtime. No going to bed when you're not tired, no lying in bed not feeling tired. All right, so this might end up, you might end up shortening the amount of sleep, but the aim is for you to go to bed tired and then stay asleep for that allocated time through the night. Okay, and what we want is for you to wake up just before your alarm, naturally feeling refreshed. So it's better to go to sleep later and go to sleep more easily than going to bed earlier and struggling to go to sleep. Okay, stop thinking about this. I have to get 9 hours of sleep. All right, we'll move away from that and go, let's aim for 4 cycles to begin with. Right? And it's better to sleep less cycles rather than waking up in the middle of a cycle. Okay, because if you wake up mid-cycle, you might be waking up when you're in deep sleep, all right, or in light sleep, and rather than at the end of the cycle when you're coming out of your REM sleep. And the problem is if you wake up mid-cycle, it'll lead to a grogginess and feeling unrefreshed, all right? So that's why we want you to wake up just before your alarm feeling refreshed. So that's the aim. So let's take a minute and just see how this would work in real life, okay? So here's scenario number 1. You're pretty good at sleeping. It might take a while to get to sleep and you might wake up through the night, but you know that you do get a reasonable amount of sleep per night, okay? And so you decide to aim for 5 cycles. So this is 7.5 hours. You aim for a constant wake time of 7 a.m. and it takes you a while to get to sleep. So we'll say 30 minutes to get to sleep. So you calculate back from your constant wake time and your allocated bedtime will be 11 p.m. Another scenario is you decide on only 4 cycles. You're a bit of a night owl and you don't feel, you're not sleeping that well right now and you don't sleep too many hours. So we decide on 4 cycles, which is 6 hours. You have an earlier constant wake time, which is 6:30 a.m. and it's taking you 30 minutes to get to sleep. So this will lead to a bedtime of midnight. Now, I know that many of you will think, oh, midnight's quite late. Everyone's told me that I need to, get in bed at 10 o'clock at night. Well, as I said, better for you to go to bed tired and then sleep well. The amount of time, the time that you spend in bed is sleeping, all right? And the thing is, we're going to be talking in module number 5 when we talk about hormones, when we talk about creating a sleep routine, okay? And so we might not only go to bed at midnight, but the hour or so before bed, we want to set up a routine so it helps your body wind down and get ready for sleep. So we're going to use that extra time that you've now gained for improving your sleep. So as I said, better to go to bed tired rather than lie in bed awake, waiting for sleep. So you might have another question, and it might be, what about if I can't get to bed at this planned bedtime? We're supposed to have this constant, this planned, allocated bedtime. What if I do if I'm going out and having a party, or if I'm working late? Okay. Well, what we do is we keep your morning wake time constant. That's why I said that was the most important, keeping your wake time constant. But we reduce the number of cycles that you sleep. Okay. So let's look at scenario number 1 again. So we decided initially that it was going to be 5 cycles, and so bedtime would be 11 p.m. Well, you can't get to bed at 11. So let's reduce the cycles down to 4 cycles and only sleeping 6 hours a night. And so your bedtime now becomes 12:30 a.m. So we're not kind of cutting up, you know, you're going to still get a good night's sleep. You still can see keeping consistency. You're still keeping that wake time. And we're not changing those sleep cycles that you're going through. We're just chopping off one of the sleep cycles at the beginning of the night. So this will allow you flexibility in your life, but also keep consistency for your body. Like, this is the time that I wake up, and this is when I have the different sleep cycles through the night. But you might say to me, oh, but I get to bed later than 12:30. Okay, well, let's make it just 3 cycles. Now, you shouldn't be doing this very often, maybe, you know, once a week at the most, all right? And if you're having poor sleep, better to be consistent and not having too many late nights. But this is what we can do occasionally. All right, so we cut it down to 3 hours. So you're only going to sleep 4.5 hours, but you're still going to get up at the same time. You're still going to get up at 7 a.m. in the morning, even though you've chosen to go to bed at 2 a.m. This keeps consistency. This teaches your circadian rhythm, again, when it's time to go to sleep and when it's, most importantly, when it's time to wake up. And we train our circadian rhythm. Okay. So here's just a word of warning before we move on. Your sleep cycles may not be 90 minutes long, okay? 90 minutes is on average, and it's going to change for, you know, different people, and also sometimes your sleep cycle will be a bit shorter during the beginning of the night and a bit longer later in the night, okay? But what you need to do is listen to your body. Or you could possibly use, you know, watches and Oura rings that help track your sleep as well. So you might be aware of the different cycles through the night. Okay, but you may sleep 5 cycles, but rather than staying asleep for 7.5 hours, it may only take you 7. Okay, and you'd know this because you'll keep waking up, you know, 30 or 60 minutes before your constant wake time. All right, so start listening to your body. When do you naturally wake up? Okay, if you have this constant allocated bedtime, and through this consistency, you'll start recognizing how long you should be staying asleep for. So if you're waking up before your constant wake time, then go to bed, you know, 30 to 60 minutes later. Okay, and so aim to be waking up before that alarm in the morning, naturally. So remember, it's better to sleep less cycles rather than waking up in the middle of a cycle, okay, because mid-cycle waking equals grogginess and unrefreshed sleep. So I just wanted to point out again, a consistent wake-up time daily is key, all right? And no cheating on weekends. I know people will tell you you need to catch up on your sleep, but you just impacting your sleep cycles and your circadian rhythm, and you're confusing your body. All right, so consistent wake up time is key, especially in the beginning when you're trying to reset your sleep. Cool. My suggestion is to keep a sleep diary. It'll help you keep track of what works and what doesn't. And in the bonus section of the membership site, there's a sleep diary that you can use. All right. So through the course, I'm going to stop through the different sections and give you some questions that I want you to consider. All right, this course is amazing. It's got so much information that's going to be so helpful for you. But unless you implement this information, apply it to your life, things aren't going to change for you. So we're just going to stop, going to take a breath, and we're going to consider this question. And if you haven't got your workbook out yet, stop this video, download the workbook, and so you can go through the workbook and write your answers as we go. So firstly, are you consistent with going to bed at the same time each night and waking up at the same time each morning? If you're not consistent, this is the first thing that you can try, and this will impact your sleep to give your body routine. All right. And as we've said in the workbook, we've got some questions about and that outline of planning your bedtime and your constant wake up time, so you can use that resource there. So approximately how much sleep are you currently getting? Okay, remember that you need to take into consideration the time that you're awake. So only calculate the amount of time that you're actually sleeping. All right, you might be in bed for 9 hours, but you might be awake for 3 of those hours. So this would just equate to 6 hours, which would be four cycles of sleep. Okay, so write that down in your workbook. How much sleep are you currently getting? Would this relate to 3 cycles, 4 cycles, or 5 cycles of sleep? Awesome. Well, now we're just going to go on to section number 4 of this module, and we're going to talk about some top sleep tips to begin. So if you're struggling with your sleeping, you're like, I want to have some impact and some change now. I don't have time to watch the whole course. This is what you can start with. Okay, so my top sleep tip number 1 is to stop caffeine. All right, we're going to talk about this more in module number 3, but we need to stop drinking and eating all caffeine. All right, I'll explain it more in module number 3, but even 1 cup of coffee or black tea a day could be impacting your sleep. All right, and the same goes with chocolate and cocoa. All right, the thing is, they both have caffeine in them, and a lot of people, have been told eat dark chocolate because it's helpful for anxiety. Well, the thing is, dark chocolate has caffeine in it, and if you're eating that after dinner as a little treat, that can give you a restless night's sleep. All right, please believe me when I say this. I know this from personal experience. It can impact your sleep severely. All right. So we're going to talk about that more in module number 3, but that would be the first tip that I have for getting a good night's sleep. All right, reduce that caffeine down if you're having more than 1 cup, and if you're having 1 cup at the moment, cut that out altogether. All right, top sleep tip number 2 is to take magnesium supplements. All right, and the dosage of magnesium you should be taking is 200 milligrams, and I like magnesium glycinate. So there's different forms of magnesium that you can get, like magnesium citrate and malate and oxide, but glycinate is really good for sleep, and I'd be taking that 30 minutes before bed. If you have anxiety or restless legs, you could increase this to 200 milligrams in the morning and night. Now, most people are deficient in magnesium. Firstly, our soils are quite depleted in magnesium. And number 2, the foods that are rich in magnesium are not commonly eaten. Okay, there's a lot of people that just don't have these foods in their diet regularly. So my suggestion is that everyone with poor sleep should be taking magnesium, and people with anxiety too. Okay. The thing is, magnesium helps create melatonin, our hormone of sleep, and it increases relaxation. And you can see our supplement guide for magnesium supplement recommendations that will have, supplements that you can purchase. I've put the supplement guide together to make it easy for you, rather than like, oh, where do I get this magnesium and what type and how much do I take it and what time of the day? So you can find all that information in the supplement guide. So top sleep tip number 3 is to wear amber or red glasses, okay, 2 to 4 hours before bedtime. See, there's the color of the amber, so that's kind of darker yellow. The amber and the red blocks out artificial blue light that stops melatonin production. We've talked briefly about how light tells you what time it is during the day. And so the amber and the red glasses can kind of compensate for that technology, compensate for the fact that we've got light bulbs and that we stay up a lot later with lights on, okay? And this is especially important for anyone not being able to go to sleep, right? And in the resource, you can find links to recommended glasses, and you can find this in the resource list that's at the end of the workbook, okay? And top sleep tip number 4 is eat a snack before bed. I know that you've probably been told don't eat before bed because it can, impact your sleep and affect your digestion. Okay. Well, my experience with my clients is that eating a high quality snack before bed can be very helpful to balance their blood sugars. And we're going to talk about diet and blood sugars in module number 3. But this is especially important for anyone waking through the night or waking up too early in the morning. The reason you're waking up is your body's basically telling you that you're hungry, okay, and your blood sugars have got too low. Okay, and so you can avoid those lows by eating a high quality snack, which includes protein and healthy carbs. So a suggestion here would be a protein smoothie. So you could have protein powder, frozen berries. I've just got dairy-free milk, ideally. Okay. Also, you could have a banana or an apple with some almond butter on it there. So you're combining the good carbs with a protein and fat source. And chia seed puddings or nuts are another recommendation or suggestion. Okay, and top sleep tip number 5 is to take melatonin. Okay, this should just be really a short-term option for most people, all right? But if you're really struggling to get to sleep, you could take melatonin. Now, the dosages are 0.3 to 5 milligrams 30 minutes before bed, all right? And in probably 3 milligrams or lower is best for most people, right? There's really 2 different types of formulas. One that's a standardized formula but this is helpful for anyone getting to sleep. Okay, your body breaks it down quickly and helps you fall to sleep. But there's slow release formulas as well, and this is helpful for people finding it difficult to stay asleep. All right, the slow release means you have the melatonin is released slowly into your system, and so therefore will help keep you asleep for longer. In most countries, melatonin requires a prescription. All right, I know in the US you can get it over the counter and from supplement companies. So yeah, you'll just have to find out in your country whether melatonin requires a prescription or not. And you can see in the supplement guide for a link of getting the melatonin for the countries that don't require a prescription. So just remember the supplement guides. You can find your links to melatonin and magnesium there, and the resource guide at the end of the workbook will give you recommendations for the sunglasses. Cool, so as a promise, we're going to stop. We're going to apply this information to your life. So let's consider this question and get out your workbooks. So have you tried any of these top 5 sleep tips before? Have you cut out all caffeine? Have you tried a magnesium supplement? I think this is important for everyone that has issues with sleep, but if you've got anxiety or restless legs, magnesium is even more crucial for you. Have you bought any amber or red sunglasses that block out blue light at night? Have you tried having a good snack before bed, especially if you wake up in the early hours of the night or the morning, or you wake up regularly through the night? And finally, have you tried melatonin before? If you've said no to any of these, wow, you've got heaps of options that can help your sleep. And if there's a couple here that you haven't tried before, you could start implementing them right away. Cool. Well, we're nearly at the end of module number 1, and let's just move into our wrap up. Okay, so remember to review your answers to the questions to consider that we've answered along the way, because they're going to help highlight for you areas that you need to work on. And, you know, our first questions to consider were about planning your constant wake time as well as your allocated bedtime, and that's crucial. So here's just sort of an outline of the things that are going to be helpful for you moving forward. So plan your bedtime and constant wake time and start keeping it, especially the constant wake time, all right? The first few days might be a little bit of an experiment, just to start listening to your body and to see when you naturally wake up. And also you can use a sleep diary, because that's going to be helpful for you as well. Because it's going to help along the way as we learn more things and you start trying things. It's going to help show you what's working and what's not. My suggestion is also to implement some of those 5 top sleep tips, all right? And you've identified which ones you've tried before and which ones are new to you. So can get onto that straight away. Remember, we have the workbook and it's got a lot of checklists in there, and it's got this section on planning your bedtime and wake time. We've also got the sleep diary, the bonus sleep diary, as well as the supplement and resource guide. So make sure you're using those bonuses, because they are very, very helpful. So here's the last question that I want you to answer, and I want you to answer this before moving on to module number 2. So what time will you turn the light off to go to sleep every night? Okay, and you might have to sit down and plan your bedtime before you can answer this. And what time will you set your alarm clock to go off in the morning to get up? So answer those questions, and then I'll see you in module number 2, where we're going to cover your bedroom environment and light exposure too. So I'll see you there soon.